Hi, this is Takoya Urbina, and I am the communication manager for PBC Awareness, and you're watching our PBC Warrior series. And today we have the pleasure of meeting one of our PBC Warriors, Mr. Charlie Hobson. How are you today?
I'm feeling pretty good today, thank you. Yeah, I'm good.
That's great. Thank you so much for agreeing to participate in our series because we understand that it's important for other PBC patients to hear other stories and experiences because many of them don't even know any other PBC patients. So hearing yours will definitely inspire them and help them along their journey. And especially by you being a male, and since there are roughly about 10% of male PBC patients, your voice is definitely needed in this area. So thank you for joining us.
That's cool. I'm happy to help.
So, first question I have is, can you take us back to when you first were diagnosed with PBC? When was that? How was that diagnosis process for you?
Yes, this is an interesting question. It was about 12 years ago, I guess, when I first got my diagnosis that I had PBC. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. I went to the doctor about 2 years before my diagnosis because I wanted to get like an MOT, an old man's health check. I would have been about, how old would I have been, Angie? 60, 58, 58, that sort of area, maybe 57. And I just thought I was feeling a little bit not quite strong, not quite right, but then thinking, well, I'm not 18 anymore, so let's go and have the doctor check it out. The doctor checked it out, took some bloods, of course, and things, and then I heard no more from the doctor. And 2 years later, I went back again. My doctor had changed, and so I had a new doctor. And the same question, can I have an MOT? I'm feeling even worse than I was 2 years ago. We looked through, he took my bloods and things. He happens to be a hematologist as well as a GP. And he instantly saw my bloods and said, you've got a major problem.
Hmm.
And he actually diagnosed PBC, but he said, it's not my job to diagnose PBC. And it was like, PBC, what's PBC? I've never heard of it, of course. No one has ever heard of it. But what was slightly odd for me was that the tests that when you looked in the records, the test that I had done 2 years previously to that also showed that I had PBC. And well, it was a liver function problem that it showed. And yes, so that's how I knew I had PBC. And of course, we didn't know anyone who had PBC. We didn't know anything about PBC. We didn't really know what to expect. And it was quite a shock when you start reading a little bit about what PBC can do to you. Yeah, I was quite shocked in the end what it did do to me, but I'll let you ask another question.
So when you discovered the diagnosis and you did your own research to understand what it was and how it affects your body, who is there with you to help you process that and emotionally to get through that?
Well, my partner, lover, and wife, my dear Angie, who was constantly by my side, that my brain started to get fried as a result of the BBC. Probably more of that later, I'm sure. And she's got a very analytical mind for identifying and researching things. But she was also exceedingly loving and caring, and was looking after me. She became my carer. So very much my wife. I was very fortunate
Awesome.
in that regard.
Awesome. Since you have, you said that you were diagnosed about 12 years ago. In that time span, have you found community? Have you found any other PVC patients that you can rely on for emotional support and share experiences with?
So what you need to understand is that I think it's not too uncommon in males with PBC, but my PBC was very rapid onset, if that's the right expression. By the time of the second doctor establishing that I got serious problems with my blood work to do with my liver, I was sent for a scan, and it was seen at the scan that I had serious problems with my liver.
Mm,
Um, so we wanted to get to see a consultant in the local hospital, and the local hospital refused to see me. The
mm,
consultant refused to take me on, going back to my doctor to say, "Can you please check this gentleman's drinking habits?" Oh, we've heard this one before, haven't we?
mm,
And my doctor went back to the consultant, and he even showed me some of the letters because my doctor felt so embarrassed and sad about it for my sake. And he went back and said, "No, look, I know this patient of mine. He's not got liver problems due to his alcohol intake." And the consultant was still reluctant to take me on. So I had had a business. We ran our own business, my wife and I, and we had private health insurance that went with that business. The business was almost over at this stage, but we still technically had health insurance. And the business was going down partly because of the state of my health, my mental health, my physical health, but partly for other reasons in the business. But anyhow, we had insurance, and we went and pulled on this insurance, and we went to see specialists, PBC specialists in Manchester. I live in North Wales. And the specialist in Manchester examined me, confirmed that I'd got varices, confirmed that my liver was very badly cirrhosed, and informed us exactly what we should be looking for in terms of the blood readings. Told us to take notes of all the blood readings, told us to get our GP to take blood readings on a very regular basis, even if the consultant wouldn't see me. And this we did. That was the end of my ability to use private insurance because once they found out that I got PBC, that was they pulled the plug. That's what the private insurance companies do in the UK. And but I was left with my GP to take bloods, and we graphed it on a spreadsheet. The various numbers like albumin and bilirubin and all the well, anyway, all the alkaline phosphatase, all those sort of things were graphed, and that's what we did. Yeah.
wow. So I know that you said that you had severe cirrhosis. How did that affect your health? What came of that? Are you still in that stage, or um,
Well,
have
let's
you?
move this. Let's move the story forward a little bit
Okay.
to help you understand. So we graphed all the readings, and we did so for about 9 months, and then the gastroenterologist specialist at my local hospital had the good grace to see me.
Hmm.
And we walked in with our printed out spreadsheet and laid it on his desk in front of him, hardly without saying another word. He looked at it and he said, "You need a liver transplant, don't you? Have you thought about where you want to go?" We'd thought about the Freeman in Newcastle because Professor Jones up there is a specialist in PBC. And although we live in North Wales and Newcastle is about 250 miles away, we thought, well, we'll go there. Not realizing how many trips that would involve up to Newcastle, by the way. And so we went up to Newcastle. Of course, this is by now about 12 months into my diagnosis, and by this time I had varices. I was bleeding plenty through my mouth. I had edema. My stomach. I looked like I was 9 months pregnant.
Wow.
I couldn't wear any trousers that I used to wear, the all elasticated waists. I used to measure my thighs every day when I was sitting on the loo, and I'd be measuring my thighs and recording it. That's part of the mental issues that we have because there's an awful lot of hepatic encephalopathy that I suffered from at that time, which, in my case, made me lose all my inhibitions. On
Oh,
occasions, it wasn't flat. You'd get moments when it came and went, but on a bad moment when I had hepatic encephalopathy, I was like a madman with no inhibitions. And
hmm.
it takes a little bit of thinking to think about how you might behave in the world as an adult with no inhibitions. It's quite scary, and there's some pretty crazy stories. Uh, one of them involved the police and
Oh, wow.
courts, and another one where the police were threatened to be called more than once. Yeah, so I had lots of physical problems with the varices, the edema, turning night into day. Brain fog was extreme. I'm an electronics engineer. The business I used to run, we used to look after £500,000 pieces of equipment
Mm.
that were sort of serious electronics. I wasn't dim, I kind of put it that way. But when I had my brain fog, I could not. You could not give me four numbers verbally and ask me to write them down on a piece of
Wow.
paper. I couldn't do that. That's how bad the brain fog was. And my fatigue was, I spent most of my time lying on a sofa. I mean, 9 months, people who are pregnant for 9 months often do relax on the sofa occasionally. And I was just like them. I couldn't hardly move around. I was turning night into day, so that most of my time was awake was at night time. I couldn't sleep during night. I was itching. Oh, was I itching? It was horrible.
So
It
the
was.
calcium as well.
Lost all my calcium, and they were saying, "Well, yes, you're going to be needing a transplant because your liver has gone too far now." And because I'd lost calcium, the teeth. I've been fighting my teeth, which were starting to wobble, and
Mm.
I was seeing the hygienist every 4 times a year, having professional cleaning, and in the end, they said to me, "You're going to have all your teeth removed."
Oh, wow.
Because they're wobbling and there'll be infection underneath it. And if you have a liver transplant, that's a danger of infection. And we're not doing a liver transplant while your teeth are in your mouth wobbling. So get your teeth removed. So yeah, it was pretty extreme.
Wow. So, I, your experiences, I'm speechless. That's a lot to go through, and
It's a
you're
heck of a
very
lot to go
fortunate
through.
to have your wife there to
Yeah,
be a
very. She
caregiver.
was fantastic. She
That's
lived it. She lived
beautiful.
it. She lived it. She lived the experience with me,
Wow.
and we kept a good humor together as we were doing it.
That's
Black usually.
Black humor. Angie's just saying.
uh so when did you have your surgery and how was that experience? Was it a night and day change or was it a gradual healing process to get back to health?
So I was actually in my local hospital when the call came.
You've had the gastric
I'd had a
bleed.
gastric bleed,
Mm.
and so I was in hospital when the call came, and we were blue lighted up to Newcastle. The operation happened. That was the first time I hear of people who are getting liver transplants, getting the call, and then things not working out at the last minute. I was fortunate. Everything worked out at the last minute. What a fantastic team! What an amazing situation to have people donating their livers, cadaver livers, the families, the system that's there that enables this, and the team that at the Freeman and other places where they're just so dedicated
Mhm.
and caring. And anyway, the operation happened. 5 days after the operation, my new liver was not happy.
Mm.
And I wasn't really aware of it because after a liver transplant, perhaps when your liver's not happy, I was very heavily sedated.
I
But
would.
poor old Angie was experiencing it all, and they were saying words to her like, "Don't worry, we will get him another liver if it's needed, and we think it might be. So prepare yourself." Fortunately, I didn't need another liver. It all came good after struggling for 5 days, and ever since then, I've been very, very fortunate that my liver's been working very well indeed. What happened straight after it was when you've had a major operation. I've got pictures of my tummy because I'm quite proud of my scars on my tummy because they're huge. It's
Mhm.
a big Y shape. They call
Oh,
it
wow.
a Mercedes scar because there's different sorts of scars you can get. And had a picture of my tummy, very proud of it. I remember walking around with it shortly after the event, when the scar was more showing than it is today, and I was proud of it. You know,
Mhm.
I'm a liver transplant survivor. I was fortunate with my health. I did really well for getting better. I mean, you have to take things more gently.
Mhm.
I still suffer weirdness with my hepatic encephalopathy, with the way my brain functions. I have odd memory holds. I have if I get a certain idea, if I think that someone's name is Ben, and I've got it wrong, they're called Pete. They are Ben for the rest of my life. It's
Oh, wow.
really hard for me to correct that in my head.
Mm.
Little odd things like that come along, but they're not life stopping. They're just weirdnesses, oddities. Um, and uh, and more recently, well, I also caught another autoimmune condition called AIHA, autoimmune hemolytic anemia.
Oh,
This
wow.
was this was at the start of COVID time, around 2020. And what that condition is about, it's where your body, instead of attacking your bile ducts, as it does with PBC, it was attacking my red blood cells.
Mm.
And you can't live without red blood cells. And the only way they could get red blood cells back into me was to give me blood transfusions.
Wow.
And I had over 150 blood transfusions, and they could not cure my AIHA. In fact, they said you shouldn't even be able to get AIHA, because one of the first things we do when you get AIHA is to give you immunosuppressants. Well, I was already well popped up on immunosuppressants, and they were scratching their heads as to what to give me to cure it. And they had to get special license for a chemotherapy therapy to use against AIHA, which they got, and so they put me on chemotherapy, and that didn't shift it. And the thing that did shift it in the end, and this is not a sort of my consultant agrees that he says this, it really does appear that this is what shifted it, because we tried everything and we failed. We were about to take your spleen off you to give you another 9 months, and then I caught COVID. And I went into hospital. And when I caught COVID, because COVID, any sort of illness, would
Wow.
bring my blood count down, they had to give me two infusions of blood, two blood transfusions, and they were the last two blood transfusions I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
And reset your
It
immune.
reset my immune system.
Wow. Wow.
So I mean, my family know me as the cat with 9 lives, because
Wow. Yes, you're a walking miracle.
I keep escaping the inevitable. I keep putting it
Wow.
off.
Wow. Oh, okay. Uh, this your experience is mind blowing.
It is. I mean, I take it as it's my experience, and so it's not that mind blowing to me. But when I recount it to other
Yes,
people, that I do get people going, "Wow, it's just incredible," you know, and you're so happy about it. Well, yeah, I'm here.
yes. You're a walking miracle. The fact that you have surmounted so many obstacles, and that's a testament to the human spirit and our the fortitude of our systems, and how we can, surpass all obstacles that
An awful
nature
lot of it.
throws at us.
Yeah. So I mean, I consider myself fortunate in every regard.
Hmm.
In fact, I remember saying before my transplant, people were saying, sort of, gosh, having a liver transplant, that's pretty heavy stuff, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it's heavy stuff, but 50% of the world would literally give their right arm to swap
Hmm.
places with me right now. And that's something which I have to keep in my
Wow.
mind.
With your
Wow.
fortune.
Oh, okay. So with everything that you've gone through, and the positive outlook that you have and your optimism, what advice would you give to other PBC patients who are struggling through their symptoms and their diagnoses, and just are having a difficult time adjusting to their new normal, what would you advise them?
Gosh, that's a hard one. I mean, information I think helps. I think understanding, reading up about it, finding places to get information, so that you can confront and you can deal with and you can accept what it is that you have to experience. And also with that, keeping on top of what medicines are available to
Mhm.
help alleviate some of the symptoms, which can be absolutely horrible, dire.
Mhm.
So one of the things that happened with me with my hepatic encephalopathy, as an example, was that my GP, who diagnosed the fact that I had PBC, he was a hematologist, did not understand hepatic encephalopathy at all. He had
Mhm.
no experience of it. My wife, who figured out that I got HE, said to my doctor, "Oh, Charlie, there, he's got HE." "No, he hasn't," says the doctor. "If you got HE, you're flat on your back, you're unconscious." "No, he's got minimal hepatic encephalopathy, and it's developing." So I mean, I think hepatic encephalopathy is quite famously misdiagnosed by
Mhm.
medical people, but PBC is quite a rare disease. There aren't that many of us. And the medical profession, I mean, we'll say, "Oh, we rely on the medical profession to know everything."
They don't.
The truth is they don't. They have
Mhm.
to look things up for themselves. And yeah, so understanding that the itch is real, the brain fog is real. uh, uh, so often you can't see the condition. People around you will misunderstand what you're going through, and I think finding people who do understand must be a great strength,
Mhm.
something to help you cope with it.
Education.
So it's education, isn't it? It's education helps, and
Mhm.
finding people who can empathize and who have got the ability to understand what you're going through, which that's just words. It's important to find people who really do understand and can really honestly and genuinely empathize with you.
Mhm.
Not as easy as it sounds.
Okay. What would you like to see change in the medical field or with specialists or primary care physicians? What would you like to see change to help and benefit PBC patients moving forward?
Education, as I've already just mentioned. I did go to the European Court with on a project with Annalise Dodds MP and the company Reflaxamin, who was
Mhm.
sponsoring the event. Rifaximin is a medicine used to try and, it's an antibiotic specified at the stomach to try and stop the ammonia from getting up onto your brain,
Mhm.
which causes the HE. And this was a thing that we all went to try and raise awareness of the
Mhm.
fact that the medical profession in general and GPs in particular were not familiar with hepatic encephalopathy. But they're not, I don't think, familiar with all the other things that go with PBC, the itching, the brain fog, the fatigue.
Mhm.
And people who express that they've got brain fog, they say, "Yeah, yeah, I've had brain fog. I had a day when I wasn't feeling very clever and I made a mistake in the account." But that's not the brain fog we're talking about.
Different.
We're talking about really strong brain fog, where you're almost like a blithering idiot.
Yeah, but with women, there's a slower build up.
I'm just saying that with women, there's a maybe a different way of the way some of these things come forward with PBC, and that with men it can be a very fast take up. Yeah. So yeah, education, finding people who understand it and can give you support. That's what you need to try and look for.
So, we have a few more minutes left. I want to end on talking about your bed and breakfast. You and your wife run a B
Yeah.
and B, and that's your newfound um, moving forward. That from the software, I mean the hardware, to now you're running a successful B&B. I would love for you to talk about that and how that's helped you in your health recovery, in your mental. How has it benefited you?
Okay, well, the B&B started because we have a big family. Angie and I had 9 children
Oh,
between us.
wow.
And so we had a big house, and the business was successful, so we could have the big house. And then the business stopped being successful, and I started being ill. And we didn't want to move out of the house because we loved it so much, and the children were moving out of the house. So it was Angie's idea to start the B&B, and that's exactly what we did. And we've been doing it from before I had PBC. Um,
18 years.
and through my hepatic encephalopathy, where Angie used to have to try and keep me separated from the guests, because if a guest came through the door and I didn't take to that guest's voice, I could come out with something like, "Oh, I can't stand the voice of that bloody guest over there." And that's not the sort of thing you want in a
Right.
5-star gold bed and breakfast, which is how we are rated.
Oh,
So,
yay.
thank you. So yeah, it's good fun. I enjoy meeting people, always have. We've got a story to tell, not just my PBC story. We've got loads of stories. 9 kids bring on quite a few stories, but my business life and things. So I mean, I enjoy chatting to the guests. My wife loves the social aspect of it, and it's a tonic.
So, what is the name of your bed and breakfast, and where
Ooh,
can people find you so that they
yeah.
can make reservations?
Okay, so we're not looking for too many guests because we're running it very gently. But I love the opportunity of saying it, so thank you. So it's Castle House Bed and Breakfast in Denbigh, North Wales. So if you Google Castle House, North Wales, you'll find us there.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you, Charlie, and your beautiful wife off on the side, hearing her voice and hearing
Yeah,
your the relationship that you both have is inspiring and beautiful. And I wish you the utmost best in your life and your recovery, and it's been such a joy speaking with you. We definitely will keep in connection. And if there are any PVC patients in the Wales area that would love to connect with Charlie, how can they connect with you on social media so that you can
don't do this to me again. So the best way to connect with me is to Google Castle House Bed
Okay.
and Breakfast in North
Okay.
Wales, and you can send a message that way.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been great speaking with you. Um, we will stay in touch, and we definitely want to have more discussions because I want to know more about your bed and breakfast, and that story,
Well,
I'm
you'll
sure
have to
is
come and
just as
stay with us. You'll have to come and stay with us,
I
and we'll give you
will.
special
I
rates.
will. Oh, yay!
Yay!
I definitely will come because I want to sit down and have coffee and hear all about you and your wife's tales with your
Oh,
B&B.
we can keep you entertained for
Yeah,
hours.
we
I know
will.
you can. I believe it.
And also,
Awesome.
I'm very willing to help and talk to anyone who's got PVC who just wants to talk to someone who's experienced it. Very happy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been great speaking with you, and we will connect offline. Thank
Okay,
you.
cool.
Thank you so
Thank
Okay.
you
much
so
for
much.
joining. Okay.
Yep. Thank you for being in touch.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye
Bye.
now. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.